Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1636B, and today's date is August 12th, 2018, and the title of the episode is, The Show Has Just Begun. Welcome to the Swamp. Now, before I get started, I just want to make an announcement. I uploaded a new interview with Jordan Sather. It is on the X22 Report Spotlight YouTube channel. So all you need to do is go over to YouTube, type in X22 Report Spotlight, and it will bring you to that interview. Or you can come over to the X22Report.com or NewSentinel.com site, scroll down a little bit, look over to your right-hand side, you'll see the videos there. Or you can go to Steemit, that is steemit.com/@X22Report, and you can play the interview right on Steemit. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, we're starting to see the beginning stages of the show, and we know that Q mentioned the show, and we'll be getting into some of the Q posts a little bit later, but we're starting to see that Trump is out there, he's slamming Sessions, saying he is scared stiff and missing in action. Now, once again, is he really missing in action? Is he scared stiff? Or is this the beginning stages of laying the groundwork for what is about to happen? Let's look at the August 11th tweets that Trump put out there. And we can see already he's laying the groundwork, sprinkling the breadcrumbs to get people used to the idea of what is about to happen. The first one we see that he put out there, why isn't the FBI giving Andrew McCabe text messages to Judicial Watch or appropriate governmental authorities? FBI said they won't give up even one. I might have to get involved. Do not destroy. What are they hiding? McCabe's wife took big campaign dollars from Hillary's people. Now here's the next tweet on August 11th. And it says, do you believe Nellie worked for Fusion and her husband still works for the Department of Justice? I have never seen anything so rigged in my life. Our AG is scared stiff and missing in action. It is all starting to be revealed. Not pretty. IG report soon. Witch hunt. Another tweet from Trump on August 11th. The big story that the fake news media refuses to report is low-life Christopher Steele's many meetings with Deputy AG Bruce Orr and his beautiful wife, Nellie. It was Fusion GPS that hired Steele to write the phony and discredited dossier, paid for by Crooked Hillary and the DNC. So this is very interesting. We see this entire build-up moving towards the declassification of the IG report, because he did say it in his tweet, I might have to get involved in this. Now, this is very interesting because we talked about this, and here we are in the month of August. Hopefully, in the next couple of days, it's all going to start to come down. We know that Q said it's showtime. There's no more previews. So it looks like they're building this up, getting the public used to the idea of what has been happening. Now, what's very interesting is the DNC, they are suing WikiLeaks, and the Democratic National Committee officially served its lawsuit to WikiLeaks through their unconventional means of Twitter. So they put out a tweet, and they had all the documents there, and this is how they went ahead and officially served WikiLeaks, which is kind of strange. And of course, they're going after WikiLeaks because of all the documents and things like that that WikiLeaks dumped, and they're trying to go after WikiLeaks. Now, we talked about how there was a plane, a 155-foot Boeing 757, that was in Little Rock, and a radio station, KRN, reported that, why is this plane here? It belongs to the FBI. Looks like they're going after Clinton or doing something in this area. And the FBI responded to this because there were so many questions about it. And this FBI airliner made 2 trips to Little Rock, Arkansas, stirring up a discussion and speculation at this local radio station that there might be a possible connection to the Clinton Foundation. The FBI, however, stated the plane was there because of a major drug bust. The plane, a 155-foot Boeing 757-223, took off on August 7th around 9 a.m., likely from Richmond, Virginia, and landed around noon at the Clinton National Airport in Little Rock, around 12. It took off again and returned likely to Richmond. Now, according to flight tracker, Flight Radar 24, the site seems to have only tracked the plane on the way, but not during the takeoff and landing, making it more difficult to conclusively say where it took off from and where it landed. Little Rock's News Radio 102.9 KRN reported that day that federal agents have been spotted loading boxes onto the 757. Now, the FBI, they're saying the plane was there, the FBI agents were there to break up this drug ring. And they're saying there were 7 people that were arrested there, and they were selling cocaine, crack cocaine, and marijuana. Now, isn't this really a job for the police? I mean, they're selling cocaine, crack cocaine, and marijuana. There's 7 people. They needed an FBI in a 757 to fly in back and forth, and they were loading boxes. And they're saying, the FBI was there for this reason. Now, this seems a little difficult to believe because it makes no sense. And again, the plane was moving back and forth many, many times, coming in and out. We know Jeff Sessions also visited Little Rock prior to this. So something else might be happening in this area. And Q actually came out and kind of confirmed that there is something else happening in this area. We see out in Afghanistan, we talked about how these poppy fields in Afghanistan, they're being guarded by the deep state. They use soldiers to guard these fields. And these poppy fields, they have grown in the number of fields. They have expanded across the country. And it seems very similar to Syria, where we saw the Islamic State. And once the U.S., the deep state, got involved, the amount of land that the Islamic State took over expanded. So when we look at this, we can say something is wrong here. Well, now we do have proof. Our conspiracy, as the fake media likes to call it, has come true once again. A recent report from the Special Inspector General for Afghanistan Reconstruction reveals that U.S. taxpayers spent $8.62 billion in Afghanistan between 2002 and 2017 solely on combating poppy cultivation and drug production. The result was an absolute failure, and the report confirmed that Afghanistan remains the world's largest opium producer, and opium poppy is the country's largest cash crop. Now, what's interesting about all of this is that before the U.S. invaded Afghanistan in 2001, poppy cultivation was actually at an all-time low. And right after 2001, that's when you saw all these poppy fields start to pop up. Now, according to a report from the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime and Afghanistan's Ministry of Counter-Narcotics, which is published in November 2017, the area under opium poppy cultivation increased by 63% since 2016, reaching a new record high. And we can see right now that when we talked about poppy fields and we talked about the deep state being in there using opium to pay for their covert operations, it's all turning out to be absolutely true. Now, this is very interesting because we know that there's sanctions being placed on Iran. We know from Q that Iran is next, trying to get the mullahs out of there, the deep state connection, and the same thing that happened in North Korea, the same thing is trying to be pushed out in Iran. And trying to get a lot of these deep state companies out of Iran. Now, we know France's Total decided, something, we don't want to be a part of this, and they are trying to get out of the country. But China right now, China's state-owned energy giant CNPC, this is the world's third largest oil and gas company by revenue, behind Saudi Aramco and the National Iranian Oil Company, they took over the share in Iran's multi-billion-dollar South Pars gas project, which was held by France's Total. And South Pars has the world's biggest natural gas reserves ever found in one place. And you better believe it that they're going to be taking this gas field, connecting a pipeline, and probably connecting this to Europe, most likely going through Syria. And once again, as we can see, this is probably part of the entire plan. China's taking control, other corporations are out, and we see things are changing very, very rapidly right now. Now, it looks like there was a NATO war exercise going on in Estonia, and a serious incident unfolded where a NATO jet accidentally launches a secret missile near the Russian border. And the shot over the Baltic countries' airspace was by a Spanish fighter jet, and it fired this missile. This is the Advanced Medium Range Air-to-Air Missile. It's a modern, beyond visual air-to-air missile capable of all-weather day and night operations with a range of about 100 kilometers, 62 miles. And the AMRAAM that was fired came down very close to Russia. It's near Estonia, the border of Russia, and it hit there. Now, once again, was this a message from the deep state? Were they trying to provoke something? Was this really an accident? And we know that the deep state, they like to provoke. They like to push. They like to see what is going to happen. And we know they want some type of war somehow, some way. And we know that Putin doesn't react like this. I mean, they took down a Russian jet over Syria. Turkey shot it down going back a couple of years, and we didn't enter war. I don't believe that this was going to push Russia into war at all, but you can see that they're continually trying to provoke one way or another. Now, let's go over some Q posts here, and I'm just going to go back to the hacking of the Q board. Now, during the hack, there was a video that was put up showing these individuals where they were hacking the board, but the thing about the video, nothing was ever really showed. It didn't show them coding and show their screen as they were hacking, at the same time showing them put up the message. Yes, they were talking. You heard the keyboard and you saw the cutout of, the messages they were putting up there, but it doesn't show that they were actually doing it. And I have a problem with that. I mean, if you're going to show that, we're hacking the board, then show you actually hacking the board. Let's see your screen. Let's see you really do it. Don't give us, dancing Trump and dancing Putin and things like that. Actually show what you're doing to hack in. Now, what's very interesting about this, and they were out there, they were saying, this was really easy and it wasn't a big deal. Now, there's different security levels on the board. And when you look at the board and you see, next to the letter Q or any type of posting, you'll see a trip code. And an exclamation point gives you, no exclamation point means you can hack this very easily. One exclamation point, well, it's a little bit harder, but it can be done by brute force, by trying to figure out the passwords. 2 exclamation points, that is very, very difficult to do. If you look now, it has 2 exclamation points, but very interestingly, they've had 1 exclamation point on the boards. To me, this was a setup. And it doesn't mean, they don't know security or things like that, because anyone who's setting up board will go to the FAQs, and it's very easy to see. If you look at the FAQs, they tell you exactly what to do to secure your boards. It's not like, you have to be a rocket scientist or anything like that. All you need to do is go to the FAQs, and it gives you the explanation. First, it tells you what a trip code is, and it says, number 1, by simply entering a name in the name field, this is not secure, since any other poster is able to use the same name. Number 2, by entering 1 hashtag character and a password in the name field, adding a hashtag example to the name field would generate a trip code. This is reasonably secure, and this has 1 exclamation point in front of it. However, with increasing GPU speeds, these trip codes may be cracked in a few days by a dedicated attacker. By entering 2 hashtag characters and a password in the name field, adding hashtag example to the name field would generate 2 exclamation points in front and additional letters after that. And this is quite secure, but it relies on secret salt on the server. This means the code will not work on websites other than 8chan. So we see right now that they knew this, they understood it, they knew exactly what they were doing, and it looks like this might have been a setup to lure these individuals in. Now, they hacked the board and there was gibberish being put up there and other things. It was all taken down. And it looks like this might have been a setup from the beginning because they knew how to secure the board. It's really not that difficult. All you have to do is type into Google, or if you were setting up an HM board, just look at the instructions and it tells you exactly what to do. So we see right now that just because you hack something doesn't prove anything. And if you were actually really hacking it, why don't you show it on your video? Now, Q came out and said phishing is fun, in brackets with fish, and people are taking this to mean many different things, like foreign hacking and things like that. And I think what's happening here is they wanted to gather data on the individuals that were actually doing this. Now, an Anon picked up on something very interesting with all the hacks and everything going on. Post 1834, and this is number 131 in a post. This was the last post before the board got hacked, and it said they never thought she would lose. Now they all lose Q+. But if you look at the timestamp, it says 11:44:55. Now, the last post after the hack, before the message that says, phishing is fun, it says packet HDQ. This is post 1839, 7, and it gave us a whole packet number and things like that. But the timestamp is 13:44:55. And the Anon says, what are the odds? 4455. Timestamps is Q trolling them. And then the Anon went on to say and actually put the passwords and the trip codes and things like that. And under it, it says Q is in total control. Passwords tell the story. And the passwords are like Matlock, Freedom, Fight, Now Comes, Storm Kill, We Are Q. And the Anon went on to say, timestamps matter down to the second. These are comms. Pain is coming. Relax and watch. Let's move on to post 1841, August 11th. And Q put up this media consolidation, the illusion of choice. Media has never been more consolidated. 6 media giants now control 90% of what we watch. And Q is telling us in 1983, 90% of Americans' media was owned by 50 companies. Today, it is owned by 6. GE, News Corp, Disney, Viacom, Time Warner, and CBS. Under this, Q says, fake news consolidation, propaganda arm of the Tea Party. Define antitrust laws, then gives links to the antitrust laws. The Sherman Act outlaws every contract, combination, or conspiracy in restraint of trade, and any monopolization, attempted monopolization, or conspiracy or combination to monopolize. Gave another link to FTC Gov, Tips Advice, Competition Guidance, Guide Antitrust Laws. The FTC's competition mission is to enforce the rules of the competitive marketplace, the antitrust laws. These laws promote vigorous competition and protect consumers from anti-competitive mergers and business practices. Q says reconcile, plus Google, plus Facebook, plus Twitter, brackets in all bold capitals, change we can believe in, close bracket, Q. Post 1842. Q says, this is August 11th, these people are stupid. Then Q gives us a link to CohenMilsteinProcessServer.com, and this brings us to a page, WikiLeaks Service of Process. This is what we talked about. The DNC has served WikiLeaks, and this is the link that Q is showing us. And under this says, never interfere with an enemy while he's in the process of destroying himself, and gives the word discovery, because once they do this, guess what? They can get the information from the DNC. Gives another link, thehill.com policy. WikiLeaks says Senate panel requested Assange testimony in Russian probe. Do you believe in coincidences? We have the source. And I think what Q is saying, they have Assange. Assange most likely will be seen now, and he will be testifying. He has the information. Post 1843, August 11th. Q puts up a link to Twitter. This is Bill Maher's Twitter account, where Bill Maher is out there telling everyone that I am Q. I need your help to make America great again. Keep posting your memes. Keep believing everything Trump tells you. And above all, on Tuesday, November 6th, stay at home. Q went on to say, from this, do you remember their names? We do. Do you really believe you are still safe? Protected. The word is watching. Now, in post 1844, Q put up the same thing with the media consolidation. 90% of the companies now are owned by 6 companies. And below it, Q posted a link. And this link is going to wikipedia.org, Telecommunications Act of 1996. And it says, the Telecommunications Act of 1996 was the first significant overhaul of telecommunications law in more than 60 years, amending the Communications Act of 1934. The act, signed by President Bill Clinton, represented a major change in American telecommunication law since it was the first time that the Internet was included in broadcasting and spectrum allotment. One of the most controversial titles was Title III, Cable Services, which allowed for media cross-ownership. So it looks like this started with Bill Clinton, who passed this law to allow what we see today, 6 companies owning all the medias. And it says under this, brackets, BC Bill Clinton set the stage, close brackets, all bold. This was the plan from the beginning, to push the propaganda out there. And then Q went on to say, could a new Telecommunications Act be on the way, Q? And I believe there's going to be a new one coming down very, very soon. Post 1845, Q puts up a picture of this twin turboprop plane. It says Q400 Next Gen and the big letter Q on the tail. And under it, Q says, Autis, catch the message. Think missile. Do you believe in coincidences? That's very interesting. Well, before we go into it, let's go to the next post. 1846, the same picture, and Q says, boom, 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 brackets, all capitals, next week, close brackets, Q. Now, we're going to move on to post 1847 and 1848, and then we're going to come back to this Q plane, because I need to get up to 1848 because it has important information there. Post 1847, August 11th. How do you prevent the public release of incriminating acts that would forever strip their power away? How do you bind their hands of POTUS? Two-prong situ, S-I-T-U. Test strength of midterms through private analysis, win-loss ratio. Analysis below key metric without chance for recovery. Start a war. Think missiles accidentally fired. Against who? Relationships are very important. The sharing of information is very important. Q. Post 1848. Iron Eagle. Q. So, with Q, everything has a meaning. Just everything. Now, we know from what's coming out in the news that the individual that stole this plane was Richard B. Russell. Now, Richard B. Russell is also the name of a submarine, which is the USS Richard B. Russell. This is a retired nuclear submarine that was scrapped. And we understand that this is the person's name also. So this is a coincidence right off the bat. Now, we also have Q mentioning Iron Eagle. Now, was this a false flag? Was it used to divert the attention and give an excuse to put 2 F-15s on the actual target? Think Iron Eagle Q post. Read Iron Eagle plot. In there, it was a diversion. Think missile. Was the sub that took a missile shot at Air Force One previously the actual target? It was the same area. Plane was Q400. Flight path of Q400 was very interesting, and we'll get to that in just a minute. Maybe the Q400 pilot name is actually a rabbit hole designed to force the mainstream media to research the name of the sub, which just happens to be the pilot's name. Well, Richard B. Russell is also the name of a senator, Senator Richard Russell of Georgia. And Russell's dissent was the most vocal and is captured in a phone conversation with President Johnson late on September 18th, 1964. And he was on the Warren Commission. This was with John F. Kennedy. And this is all very interesting. So when we look at the flight path for this plane, it flew in circles and then made a turn, which, when you look at it, it's the letter Q. So an anon put up a theory here. Q400 was approved by Canada recently. Saudi Arabia just banned all Canadian flights. Operation name equals Iron Eagle. Flight path is Q, and we showed this in the picture that we have on the X22 Report. If you're on YouTube, you can see the picture. Plane has a remote control capability. Black hats attempted to fire another missile. Plane remote control to distract, troll mainstream media. F-16 shoot down missile. Plane brought down on an island to draw attention. And once again, this individual, who's not a pilot, was able to fly this plane and maneuver it the way he was doing it. Now, if you listen to the recordings of the pilot, first of all, he was very low. He wasn't high up in the air. You weren't losing oxygen. If you've ever been in a plane, you can be at that altitude, even higher, 15,000 feet. And guess what? You can still breathe. You don't get lightheaded or anything like that. And this individual during the recording saying, oh, he needs to pressurize the cabin. I'm getting lightheaded and things like that, which is kind of strange. And when we look at this, we can see that this individual, and he says, oh, he can fly the plane because he played video games before, which is kind of ridiculous in itself because there's no way that he knows how to fly a plane from a video game. Because once you get into a real plane, it's almost like saying, oh, I can bowl perfectly because I played on the Wii and I used the Wii bowling and now I'm an expert bowler. No, it doesn't work that way because when you start going to the real lanes, you realize it's much harder than it really is. So we see right now that something doesn't seem right and the plane was making maneuvers like this was a seasoned pilot. And it looks a little, it's a little difficult for an individual that never had flying lessons or have never flown a plane to do these type of maneuvers and to understand how to work everything in this particular type of plane. Even if he played a video game before, it's not the same plane. So we see that something is really up with this, and we can see that, from what he's been doing here and what has been said on the board with Q, it looks like this might have been a distraction. It looks like maybe the deep state was trying to push a false flag of some type with another missile being launched. Moving on to post 1849, Q says, welcome to the swamp in all capitals. Example 1, Google. State Department, brackets, HRC, Hillary Rodham Clinton, with arrows pointing to Eric Schmidt, pointing to Lisa Shields. Then gives a link of the Council for Foreign Relations Board of Directors, gives an article to Politico about Molinari to head Google DC office, gives the name of Bill Paxson, Atkin Gump Strauss Hauer and Feld LLP, gives another link to wikipedia.org, then another name, John Dowd, another link to Business Insider. John Dowd says Mueller is terrific. Another name, Melissa Lorenza, and another link to CNN.com. Special counsel reveal witness Manafort. So let's run down this and see what Q is talking about here. First, the Council on Foreign Relations. These are all the non-elected officials who have determined the course of U.S. foreign policy for decades. They are part of the swamp. Eric Schmidt used to run Google. He and Hillary Rodham Clinton are very, very tight. Lisa Shields is Eric Schmidt's girlfriend. She's a board member on the Council of Foreign Relations. Susan Molinari heads up Google DC, being their head of lobbying. Bill Paxson is her husband. He is a partner at Atkin Gump Strauss. John Dowd was an attorney for Trump for the Mueller probe, but basically was forced out. He used to be a partner at Akin, Gump, Strauss. Melissa Lorenza is a witness against Manafort and a former attorney of his. She is a partner at Akin, Gump, Strauss. So the map, here it is. Dowd, Trump's former attorney against the Mueller probe, was clearly pro-Mueller. Akin, Gump, Melissa Lorenza, witness for Mueller. Paxson, Molinari, Google, Shields, CFR, Hillary Rodham Clinton, State. We all know how Google and Hillary Rodham Clinton go way back. She got Eric Schmidt's girlfriend a seat on the CFR. Google is heavily involved with Akin Gump, which has been involved in Trump's legal defense against Mueller, as well as being a witness in support of Mueller. And this is an example of the swamp, how it's all connected. Then Q gave us another post. August 11th. Normal. Not updated. Not seeking re-election. Senate. Bob Corker. Jeff Flake. Orrin Hatch. No name. John McCain. Says, in brackets, kill brackets, departure soon. Then went on to House and listed all the different names in the House that basically are no longer there. Next line, resigned, in brackets, Al Franken, Blake Farenthold, Jason Chavez, John Conyers, Louise Slaughter, Patrick Meehan, Patrick Tiberi, Thad Cochran, Tim Murphy, Trent Franks, Xavier Becerra. Q says, is this normal? All these people jumping ship. So we can see right now, everything is changing, and those who are getting out quickly. And we can see the deep state, they are not giving up. They are still pushing. And it looks like it is now time for the show. And in the next couple of days or the next week, we're going to see major things happen. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.